Good morning and welcome. I'm Joan McNabb. I'm the Director of Privacy, Education, and Policy for the California Attorney General's Office. Very happy to see you all here on this beautiful day. Before we begin, I wanted to cover some of the important logistics. There's coffee and donuts back around the corner there. The restrooms go down this way, and as soon as you see the little kitchen, make a hard right, and there's a sign on the door. The Wi-Fi network is runway guest, and the password is code happy, all lowercase. So, all the important things. And I have somebody's BART card that, that was found on the floor. So you come give me the secret BART handshake, and I'll give you your BART card back. We are really happy to put on this event. We're doing it jointly with the UC Hastings Institute for Innovation Law, and at this point I'd like to turn the podium over to the Executive Director of the Institute for Innovation Law, Charles Bell.
Hello everybody. Let's see if I can, is this okay? Everybody hear me okay? Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'd like to welcome everyone for attending today's event, the Future of Privacy and Innovation Workshop. My name is Charles Bell. I am the Executive Director of the Institute for Innovation Law at the University of California, Hastings College of the Law. The Institute for Innovation Law is an academic center with a mission to identify and promote the tools, knowledge, and skills needed to encourage innovation through the practice and development of law and policy. The Institute is comprised of 3 programs: the Law and Bioscience project, where we work with entities such as QB3, the Innovation Law Clinics, where we provide free legal services to qualifying startups via our community partners, such as Hackers and Founders, and of course the Privacy and Technology Project, which is the co-organizer for today's event. We launched the Privacy and Technology Project in January of 2012 in response to the challenges and opportunities consumers and developers are facing today as a result of innovation. Questions such as third-party data sharing and data leakage, consumer-oriented health applications, the inability to completely de-anonymize personal information, and how to deal with personal information about minors, just to name a few of the issues. Equally important, however, we recognize that developers, especially those working at startups or independent developers, are increasingly facing challenges too, as a friend of mine likes to say, stay on the good side of privacy. We felt then, as we do now, that a new type of thought leadership was needed, one that brings technologists, academics, policymakers, and consumers together. Today's workshop is one of our initiatives to support the innovation community. This is the second workshop we've organized. In August of 2012, the Privacy Project held a startup workshop event with our community partners, and we learned how many questions developers and entrepreneurs have. We also learned how we can help make a difference, namely by providing a safe place to convene developers, policymakers, industry groups, academics, consumer advocates, all with the purpose of assisting in moving the discourse forward. Building on that success, the purpose of this workshop, as is the purpose of the Privacy Project as a whole, is to face the great challenges innovation has posed head-on in a way that balances individual privacy with innovation. This perspective is important because the word privacy, when associated with innovation, often brings with it the shadow of regulators and attorneys hovering nearby, a shadow that can foreclose innovation before it begins. Our work goes beyond rhetoric demanding adherence to legal regimes. We also want to serve as a new way to think about identifying new opportunities for policies, business, and innovation. The word privacy should not just send a shudder down the backs of entrepreneurs. As several of the panelists today will highlight, new policies, businesses, and companies are being launched and funded because of our evolving approach to privacy. Put more simply, the word privacy can mean opportunity if we allow it. The questions and discussions we're having today are just the beginning. We are honored to have the esteemed speakers and panelists with us today. Innovation is a dynamic and fluid concept with no clear long-term time horizon in any direction. Our ability to engage and learn from each other will allow us to face unforeseen challenges and create previously unimaginable opportunities in policy, business, and technology. There are 3 things we want you to think about as you participate in today's workshop. First, data has become an asset class. Funding for startups and innovation often relies on the data that is collected and the resulting insights. Thus, data is required to build new tools and attract investment for economic growth. As the saying goes, data is the rocket fuel of innovation. Second, find a balance. To paraphrase a conversation I had with a well-known Valley investor, if people knew how much data we collected, they'd freak out, but we need to know that data to keep developing new business, but we don't want to abuse their data. So what did I take away from that? One, not all data must be collected, and two, not all data collection is inherently evil either. And finally, open your mind. Don't let fear drive innovation. Let creativity. As technology advances and we face questions about privacy, we should think about opportunity in policy, business, and innovation. Don't let the cacophony of fear foreclose new ideas. There's a growing industry in privacy-oriented tools and new innovation to protect user privacy, a movement that we should embrace. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to a few groups and individuals without whom this event would not be possible. Although Chancellor will provide a more formal introduction, I want to thank the Attorney General of California, Kamala D, for sharing her time with us as the keynote speaker and her drive as the Attorney General to have her office co-organize this event with us. Thank you. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Joan McNabb, the MC for today's event, from the Attorney General's office for all of her hard work in putting this together. I want to thank our partners in this event, the Association for Competitive Technology as a platinum partner, Runway Workspace as the location sponsor, and Munger Tolles Olsen as the lunchtime sponsor. I also want to say again, a special thank you to our community partners, Hackers and Founders, and SF City for all of their work in terms of outreach and working with the community. And of course, a big thank you to the panelists for joining us today. So I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you for letting me speak for just a moment. Without further ado, we can kind of get started. So.
Good morning and welcome. Although I had an institution dedicated to the training of lawyers, it's great to come someplace where the lawyers in suits are the least important people in the room. And it's wonderful to be here at our neighbor, Twitter, to welcome to this neighborhood a real symbol of the technological change that drives our era. I just want to take a moment very briefly to talk to you about legal education today and tomorrow. We're the first law school of the American West, but more importantly, we're the institution that's rebooting legal education. By reducing our class size, pioneering online courses, offering hands-on clinical experiences with actual startups, expanding the international scope of our programs, and finally, and perhaps most exciting, blending law with other disciplines. We're a different kind of law school. The world is full of these false choices that are posed to us between, for example, on the one hand, big ideas, and on the other hand, practical skills. We're an institution that believes in engaged scholarship. That's what this conference is about. It's about taking theory and big ideas in an area of law that didn't exist when I started law school, and then introducing them to people in the world who will put these ideas into action. Ideas that are dynamic, always in flux, ideas that affect our daily lives in ways that perhaps we don't even expect. That's what UC Hastings is all about. We're an institution that believes in the future, that understands rule of law is crucial for everything that we do, whether it is the protection of our civil rights, the enforcement of contracts, and rule of law is what we wish everyone around the world to adopt. And so it's with particular pleasure that we welcome the top law enforcement officer in this state, a proud graduate of UC Hastings, class of 1989, someone who led the effort as a student to have the shark declared as our mascot, and a public official who graces the cover of the latest UC Hastings alumni magazine, which you can take a look at on our website, which I understand has been tweeted and Facebooked already. It really is wonderful to see the success, the rise of one of our graduates, and not only one of our graduates, but someone who so thoughtfully enforces the law and helps to develop the law. I've always been told that the more important people are, the less you have to say when you bring them up onto the stage. So, with nothing further, our Attorney General, my favorite Attorney General, Kamala Harris.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean Wu. for all of your great work. We initially talked about hosting this conference at Hastings, but then we agreed that being here at Runway would really be the right thing to do to emphasize that there are many places where we can learn and come together in a collaborative way. So I want to thank you all for coming out this morning and for the work that you and we will do together during the course of today and the work that we will do going forward. The Dean talked about it. You know, I'm very proud to be the Attorney General of California for a couple of reasons. One, because I am a daughter of California. My parents met when they were graduate students at Berkeley in the 60s. But I'm proud to be the Attorney General of California also because what we are doing here, as we know, it's an old adage, so goes California, goes the rest of the country, if not the world. And when we think about what is transforming the world right now, you know, once there was fire, and then there was the wheel, and then there was electricity, and now there's technology. And the technology that is changing the world, you all are creating. It is being developed right here in our backyard. So it's very exciting. I'm excited about it because I'm also the daughter of a mother who was a scientist. And she would take my sister and me to work with her when she would work on the weekends, and we would go there. In fact, my first job was cleaning pipettes. I wasn't very good at it. She fired me. But it was the work of watching her and her colleagues just be compelled to do that which can be done unburdened by what has been. Her job in life was two things: to raise her two daughters and end breast cancer, and nothing was going to get in the way of that. And that's the kind of approach that you all have, and the approach you take to the work you do. It's about being unburdened by what has been, imagining what can be in a way that will improve lives, will make the world more efficient and effective, enhance our ability to communicate not only with the world but our friends. The work that you all are doing is so extraordinary in how it has transformed the way we collect information, retain information, process information, and share information. So I'm very excited about this work. I am also a career prosecutor. And so when I think of the work in this exciting world, I am also very well aware that there are vulnerable people in this world like any world, and we all collectively must and need to do everything we can to ensure that the vulnerable people, the voiceless people, will be made safe and will have a voice. And so that's how we are, through the California Department of Justice, approaching this issue of privacy. One, with great excitement about the innovation, and two, with a sense of responsibility and purpose to make sure that we protect those rights that deserve and need to be protected. Many of you may know, in the California Constitution, there is an explicit right of privacy. We are very unique in that way. And we probably have some of the strongest privacy laws in the country as it relates to what we as a state have defined as being the priorities. So part of the purpose of today is to, one, make that information available to you so that you understand how we, as the Department of Justice, are interpreting those laws and those rights. And the second point of today is to work together in a collaborative way and to hear from you about what you need to do to engage and continue to be engaged in innovation, and doing it in a way that we can all agree that we will adhere to and protect the concerns that we have about privacy. So overall, the approach that we have is formed by some fundamental principles. And those principles are to, one, be respectful of the user, two, to be responsible with the information we acquire and be responsible to those users, and three, to be honest with the user about how the information is being used. Many of you know that we created an e-crime unit back in 2011. And the reason that we did is because we know that crimes are being committed through the use of technology. So I wanted to create in our office an infrastructure that would allow us to do the work of helping local law enforcement understand how technology can be used by predators in particular focused on children or seniors, and do the work of making sure that there will be accountability for crimes that are committed through the use of technology. We also created a privacy and protection unit for the purpose of working collaboratively to do what we can to help give information in particular to those who are creating the mobile apps around how we are interpreting that work and what needs to be done. So we received a lot of feedback, and we actually brought a bunch of people together to come up with our perspective on how to best use the rules of privacy in a way that have an impact on the rules around mobile apps. And it was a great process. It culminated in an agreement that we drafted and then shared with a number of the big service providers. But I'll tell you how exactly behind the scenes it all happened. So I'm sitting in my office one day, and a group of my lawyers run in. Hey boss, this is what they call me, hey boss. Did you know that when you download a mobile app, the technology is such that they can download your entire contact list? And I said, no, actually, I did not know that. And they said, yeah, and you know, privacy, of course, is explicit in the Constitution. I said, yeah, I know that. So they said, so let's sue. And I looked at them and basically said, slow down, cowboys. We're going to take a different approach. We're going to call up the big platforms, and we're going to have a talk with them about this. And I am not going to suggest that any one of them, Apple and Microsoft and Research in Motion, later Facebook, I'm not going to suggest that any one of them were particularly happy to receive a call from the Attorney General saying, hey guys, you got to come in and talk about some rules. But they did. And over the course of several months, we came up with an agreement that is an all too rare, unfortunately, example of government and industry working together around how to approach an issue, short of litigation or legislation or regulation. Doing the work of having a conversation that focuses on each of the priorities, and as the dean says, also rejects false choices. And in particular, as we are talking about today, rejects the false choice that suggests that you are either engaged in innovation or you are focused on privacy. Let's reject that because we can do both. And so that was the agreement we reached, and then we sent out information to a lot of folks, and everybody knew they had to put privacy policies on if the mobile app in order to be hosted in the platform. And a lot of folks did it. The majority did. And then there were some that didn't. So we sent out a letter reminding everyone, and it was a 30-day notice letter, reminding them that they needed to get it done. And it was on the 30th day, at the 11th and a half hour, and I was sitting in my office again. How's it going? Has everybody complied? Yeah, almost everyone except one. Well, have we sent them information? Do they know? Yeah, they know. And then the deadline passed. Well, how did it go? What happened? The one didn't comply. And I'm thinking, it's probably one of these 20-year-olds down somewhere south of Market. Gosh, who, I asked, didn't comply? Delta Airlines. So we sued. But a very serious point of that story is another point, which is, as I said, I'm a career prosecutor. I know the great power that we have. I learned at a very young age in my career, with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with a misdemeanor, the lowest level crime possible. And by virtue of doing that, that person would have to come out of pocket to hire a lawyer. They might be arrested. They may spend a couple of hours or days in jail. They'll be embarrassed in the context of their family and their community, probably have to miss time from work to make court appearances, all because I charged them with a crime. It's an incredible amount of power we have, and we are well aware of that. We've got a really big stick. But the point of what we are doing on this issue of privacy, everything from this training and this interaction today to the workbook that we have published and sent out, the Mobile Apps Best Practices Report, is to emphasize that we really don't want to use the stick because we've also got a really big carrot, and that's actually a better way to go. And in particular, if we are going to engage in innovation and do the work of not stifling something that is still so very much in its infancy, who knows where you all are going to go with what you're creating. I'm so excited about it. And so we're here to encourage that innovation, to applaud the innovation, and to work together to figure out how we can balance all of the legitimate interests that are at play when we talk about the need for the consumer to have information, the need for the consumer then with that information, and the right that that consumer should have to create the balance and determine what they want to give up for what they get. And then also technologically, how we can create tools to allow that user to effectuate their choice. And I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to close my comments. As an elected person, I stand in many living rooms talking with groups of people. I'm almost a one-person focus group. And so I talk with people about just that story, how mobile apps can be used technologically. I will tell you, in every living room I stand in, probably 70% of the people in that room don't know how the technology works. You know, sometimes I describe it as I get on, 6 planes a week sometimes. We have such a big state. I will tell you, when I get on that plane, I have no idea how that thing flies. I don't know how planes fly. That's just the one thing I'm going to accept, that I may never understand how planes fly. But when I get on that plane, I do know there are the exit doors. I will float on this thing I'm sitting on. I'll put the mask on myself before the child next to me. Right? We want to give people the tools. And when we talk about mobile apps, so the other example is, because of GPS, it's so extraordinary what you can do, what we can do. Well, so let's say there's a mobile app that is a car service of any sort. Well, most people don't realize that the convenience is created because the car service can actually locate where you are, figure out where the cars are that are available right there, and do that in real time so that you can quickly get a car to take you where you want to go, a taxi, whatever, a rickshaw, whatever it might be. Well, most people don't realize that the convenience comes with some cost, because the reality of that beautiful design is that the GPS doesn't necessarily stop tracking you just at the point that you were picked up. And I'll look in some audiences, and it's a very interesting reaction when I will share with them that, and then I'll say, so, for someone who holds a public office, it's an open life, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm going. But for others of you, you may not necessarily want everyone to know where you stopped along the way of where you were supposed to be. And you'll hear all these guilty laughs among the crowd, right? People don't necessarily want that information to be known. And so it's bottom line a matter of this. 3 things is the way I see privacy. 1, let's work together on giving the user, the consumers, more information about how the technology works. And let's do that together. 2, let's not stop the innovation that may allow us to collect the information. Let's not stop the innovation. I don't want to shut it down. But what we do have to do is give the user the information about it, and then let the user, not anyone else, make the choice about the trade-off. Some people may want to give up their contact list to get the mobile app because they've only got 4 people in it and they don't like them anyway. Me, not so much. I don't want to give up my contact list. Let the user figure out what's the benefit for what they give up. And then 3, give the user the tool to actually effectuate their choice. So that's our bottom line on how we look at it, and there's a lot more that we can discuss and that will be discussed during the course of this day. But I want to close my comments by saying thank you. Thank you all so very much. You're transforming the world. You're literally transforming the world. And, that's a sign of a great place. It's a sign of a great place in our history, and it's something that is exciting so many people out there. You all are exciting people. So keep doing what you do, but let's work together. We're still building in this very new industry the business model. I think history is going to show that those of us in this room together, right now in this time and place, will have formed a completely new era and a new industry, and we're right now together creating the business model. So playing in position, our role is to work with you, to do everything we can to make sure that we do respect privacy and do everything we can to honor the user and the consumer's right to have privacy, but do it in a way that allows them to enjoy their mobile app. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Harris. That was really great. I think we have a little bit of setup to get ready for the first panel. The first panel is going to be to give you some insight into what the legal scene is regarding mobile apps and privacy. And the panel is a blend of lawyers and actual technologists. So you can get more than one perspective as well as advocates. So if you'll just give us a moment or two while we get this stuff up here, and then we will continue, and Charles Bell will be moderating the next panel.